Hi, let's talk about comparatives and superlatives today. This is something that I want to explain to you, and so let's go ahead and do that. What is a comparative? What is a superlative? So here is something that will help you understand it. The first thing you should know is that a comparative is when you have two similar things. So A and B, let's say Bob and Bill, or if you want to talk about fast food, hot dogs and hamburgers. These are two things that are being compared to each other. It's called comparative in English. If I compare hot dogs to all fast food, in English this is now called superlative. So I'm comparing one thing to a group of things, so more than one other thing. Okay, we call that in English a superlative. Okay, let's take a look at how we can do that. We use adjectives with comparatives and superlatives most of the time, so let's talk about that. What is an adjective? Just in case you don't know, adjectives are words that modify nouns. So let's take a look at an example. Here I have a word, a noun, which is a word dog. And then I have some words that tell me something about dogs. So for example, big dog, beautiful dog, smart dog, ugly dog, intelligent dog, and crazy dog. And so these are adjectives, right? Because they give me information about the word dog. Okay. Now, words that talk to me about dogs are always used with the am, is, are at in the verb position, right? The dog is big and beautiful. The dog is beautiful because is the same thing as equals, right? So dog, big and beautiful, same thing. It's equal. And the big dog is, and we call this, in English, we call this a description, right? So don't forget to conjugate correctly when you use it, but when you see am, is, and are in the sentence, like here, you know that you have to use an adjective. Okay, what other thing is important about them? You notice that some of them are pretty short, right? All of these are really short. They're like 1 or 2 syllables. And then you have others that are much longer, beautiful and intelligent. And these are long, multi-syllable words. Okay, and the reason I mention that to you is because in English we make a difference between words that are short and words that are long. For example, words that are short, words like big and smart, that are 1 syllable long, and words like ugly and crazy, words that finish in y, are treated differently than words that are longer, like beautiful and intelligent. So let me explain this to you now in the model that I'm going to show you. Alright, so if I want to compare Bill and Bob, and I want to give the impression of plus, more, so in English we would say Bill is more intelligent than Bob, okay? Now, if you speak French, this is easy because Bill est plus intelligent que. So if you are able to make this comparison in French, you just have to translate it really directly to understand how to do it in English. So, plus que, more than. Don't change the adjective. If you are saying moins que, less than, then you would do the same thing. Less, minus, intelligent than Bob, okay? And we know this is an adjective because we're using is. Sometimes Bill and Bob are equal, and here it's a bit special in English because in English we use as, intelligent as. Whoops, let's keep going here. Yeah, I should let that finish, right? So instead of, this one is different than in French because we're saying equal, equal, and not aussi que, right? Bill is as intelligent as. So be careful, it might not sound elegant. Is as intelligent as Bob. This one is special. You have to keep in mind that this is not a translation, direct translation of the French form. Okay? So, the next form is with the shortcut, what we call shortcut. So if I don't have a very long word here, if I have a one-syllable or two-syllable word that finishes in Y, I'm going to replace the word more. Okay? So now the word more is going to go away, and I'm going to replace it with the end of the word ER. That means the same thing in English. So smarter than. Of course, the reason I do that is that I save time. It is much easier for me to say smarter than in two syllables or two spurts than to say more, breathe, intelligent, breathe, than. It takes a long time to say more intelligent than. It takes a long time to say more smart than. It takes much less time to say smarter than, faster than, crazier than. Okay? So please, the way it works is that I'm going to use one syllable and two syllable words, right? Please notice that if I'm going to use a word like crazy, which finishes in a Y, in English we say Y becomes I before I add ER. Okay, so no Y's in the middle of the word. Alright, so Bill is smarter than, Bill is crazier than Bob is a shortcut. It's something we do to save time and effort. Let's go to the next page. Now we're going to talk about superlatives. We're not comparing Bill to Bob anymore. We're comparing Bill to everybody, or a class, or a group of people we know. So I know this is an adjective because I'm using the word is. I have now changed from more than to the most. Okay, now the form is generally est. You're going to see that when I do the shortcut, but the E caused a problem, so sometimes we change it to OST. The most intelligent. So if you speak French, le plus intelligent. So I don't have to, but I can tell you the group by saying of all, but I don't have to. Okay? Now, minus. Bill is the least intelligent. Okay, so what you should notice here is most and least. I don't know if you notice my mouth when I say that, least and most. I have to smile because it's a long vowel. Smile. Okay. When I say more than, less than, more than, my mouth doesn't change, but least and more, I have to smile. So one of the things you should see right away is that it's makes superlative. You have to change the vowel from a short vowel to a long vowel. Okay, that's the difference. All right, can I talk? Okay, let's go to the next part. If I make a shortcut now, as I was telling you before, instead of the most, I add est. Now, the est is a shortcut. It's not more. It's not smarter than. It's the est, right? The best, the nicest. And the est replaces the word most, so don't say the most best, right? And so what's left now is the equal part. Is there an equal part? Can I be equal to a group? And the answer is never, never, never. There is no equal in superlative because I cannot compare one person to many people. Okay? So that's the first thing. Now, let's look at another way of making comparatives and superlatives. Sometimes I don't want to talk about you and some attribute that you have. Maybe I want to talk to you about an action that you did. So I'm going to use adverbs because adverbs modify verbs. So how do you drive? I'm going to use an adverb. So now the question is, how do you make an adverb? And the answer is simple. In French, if you speak French, what you do is you take an adjective and you add M-E-N-T, right? Certain, certainement. In English, what we do is we take an adverb and we add the ly ending, ly, okay? Li. So let me show you how this works, okay? Here's an example. In the previous example, we said Bill was beautiful and Bill was smart. And now we talk about how Bill drives. So now we're going to say Bill drives beautifully and smartly. Okay? And please notice that if beautiful finishes with one L, I'm going to end up with two L's. Of course, if it doesn't, I don't add an extra L. Okay? So there you go. Next, there are two exceptions to the word, and that is fast and hard. You cannot say fastly and hardly and keep the same meaning. They do exist, but they mean different things, so don't use them as adverbs. Let's keep going. Here's the example. Bill drives, so now I need an adverb. I know I need an adverb because I have the word drive here, not is. So now I'm going to use the same form, but I'm going to add li. Please note that with a word like crazy, which normally finishes in y, crazy, 2 syllables, when I add li, I now have 3 syllables, so no more shortcut. So Bill drives more crazily than Bob is correct. If I want to go to the next section, Bill drives less intelligently than Bob. Please make sure that you follow the format. So less than, just like the adjectives, but add ly because this is not is. If they drive equally, then Bill drives as intelligently as Bob is the correct form. All right? So that is good. Let's keep going. Next, for the shortcut, fast and hard only. Okay, not 2-syllable words, but only fast and hard, because 2-syllable words now become 3-syllable. So Bill drives faster than Bob. There's no more. The more becomes and Bill drives harder than Bob would be correct. For the superlatives, it's very important for you to pay attention. The est for the shortcut, right? This looks very much like the adjective, but I now know it's an adverb because I have the word drives. Here it's the most intelligently. Of course, please note that we're going to use an adverb because of the verb drives here. And of course, there is no equality in the superlative form. Alright, let's go to the next slide. Every time we make a rule, of course, there is an exception, and these are the exceptions. The word good in English and well, I have 2 different forms. One is adjective, one is adverb. Both change in English to better than and the best. So better, 2 syllables. The best, 1 syllable. This follows the rule for est, this follows the rule for er, but I wish I could explain to you why we don't say gooder, I can't, or why we don't say badder, but I know that in French you don't do it either. You don't say bonheur que, and you don't say mauvaise heure que, you say meilleur que et pire que. So if it works in French, I guess you could understand it works in English too. So worse, pire que, the worst, instead of est, it's ost. For much and many, we use many for things that we can count, much for things we don't count. Use the same form, more than, the most. Again, OST, not EST. Here we use less than, the least, okay? So we added another vowel to make it long so you could smile, right? And here you have to smile also. Long vowel compared to short vowel here, very short. For things that we count, okay, this is special, this is irregular. Less for things that are non-count, but for things that we count, we use the word fewer, the fewest. Very important. The word far is a victim because normally I'm just going to add ER. Unfortunately, if I add ER and I try to pronounce this, I have a problem, and I have a problem simply because if I say farer, farer, farer sounds like I had a few shots of whiskey before I went to talk to you, and all English people have this problem. So farer sounds bad because I'm trying to use two R's in the back of my mouth together, and it's a problem. I fixed that by, excuse me, let me snooze that. I fixed that by separating the first R from the second R, and I do that using the TH sound. So I start in the back, I come to the front, I go back to the back, and now the word becomes farther than. It doesn't sound like I'm drunk. Farther than, the farthest, okay? This will help people sound more normal. Be careful not to say farter than, farter, you're not putting your tongue out. Farther. If you say farter, malheureusement, it means péteur. Huh? It means somebody who makes who passes gas. So be careful on your pronunciation. So we have two forms of far in English. One for things that I measure, like kilometers, centimeters, meters. Farther than, I live farther than you. I can tell you how many kilometers. Or if I'm reading a book with you and I want to say more, I'm on chapter 8, you are on chapter 3. I am further than you. I am the furthest. Okay, so these are words that have two different meanings. Please don't get it wrong. All right, let's move on. And here are some examples that you can practice with if you want. But I'm not going to do that now. So thank you very much, and I hope this helps.